It's the Sean Widmer Podcast. It's a journal by someone that just really doesn't like to write.
Let's start the week off with the podcast, shall we? Let's do it. I don't know how long today's is going to be. I'm fighting that sickness I've been talking about for weeks. And I think a lack of sleep this weekend really got it in a bad spot. So I will take a little responsibility for that. But we're going to try to work through it today, get something out there because it was a big weekend. There was the Super Bowl, obviously, this weekend I want to talk about. A lot of sports today. Super Bowl, Zags played in town. I want to give some thoughts on that. A little bit of both of those. I do want to talk some parenting, and I've got a food-related, Kelly's What Are You Into? But let's start in my garage. Can we start there? Because I've got some kind of infestation I would love help with. I've got a cardboard infestation in my garage, and I can't stop it, and I need someone to help me contain it, period. We moved here in January into this house. I broke down all our cardboard boxes from moving, and I got almost all of it out. A couple dump runs, and I got the garage to a point where there was just a little pile of cardboard there, and I thought, you know what, I'll break that down, put it in the recycling next week, and we're going to be good to go. Bada boom, bada bing, done. I've been breaking down the exact same amount of cardboard every week for the last 5 weeks, and it never stops. I thought today was it. I go in, I go, this is the last day. Hallelujah, we've done it. I break down a bunch of cardboard, put it in the bin, walk back in the garage, and the exact same amount that I just broke down is still there. Next week, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to break down that cardboard, go, this is it. I'm going to walk back in, and somehow it's going to be the same exact amount. I have got the weirdest cardboard infestation in my house. I can't stop it. So if you know how to get through a cardboard infestation, can somebody please help me out on this one? I've got to be done with it. I just want that. I want that side of my garage back. In fact, I've never really had it. It's always had cardboard there since we moved in. But I've got these visions of it being cleared out. So if you know a way to get rid of all that, let me know. Do I spray something? Do I just burn it down? Maybe that's the only way to do it. Let's talk some sports today. I think we're going to start with the Gonzaga game. We'll do chronological order. Gonzaga played Kentucky here in Lexington this weekend. It was an awesome weekend, ton of fun. I had buddies come to town, which was great. My buddy Josh was in town. I got to hang out with him a lot more than I thought I was going to be able to this weekend, and we had a really good time. We hung out on Thursday night, then we hung out on Friday night. Had a great night Friday night. Went out with the voice of the Zags, Tom Hudson, and Adam Morrison, and just had a great time catching up with them. Ran into some other people. My brother-in-law, Chris, came out, and we had a really fun time out and about, just catching up in downtown Lexington. So that was a great Friday night, led into the game on Saturday, and the game on Saturday was a really good time for Gonzaga fans. Now, I've got to tell you, we're going to do a little bit of basketball talk, but I wanted to start with a little bit of the atmosphere talk. I do believe Rupp Arena is the coolest place I've ever watched a basketball game. And I think if you see people in Spokane who are able to go to the game and you ask them about it, they will reverberate the same sentiment because it is spectacular how that arena functions. 20,000 people all wearing their blues. They're all invested. It gets pretty loud in there. When things get going. And they've just got an atmosphere built that's really enjoyable. The stuff they do during the breaks is really fun. The on-court activities are really fun. The way they use their Jumbotron keeps fans extremely engaged. I'm blown away with how Rupp Arena is to play in. It's a cool environment. So going there was really fun. Extremely outnumbered. Gonzaga fans extremely outnumbered. I mean, when you have 20,000 strong, there's not enough Gonzaga fans, even if you give 1,000 tickets. They probably gave away 100 to 500 tickets to Zags fans. Even if you had given away 1,000, you're just outnumbered so much you don't see the Gonzaga people. And so it was a little intimidating. And I sat with my mother-in-law and my wife at the game, and thank goodness my mother-in-law was there because it kept me respectable and responsible. Because I obviously am cheering for the Zags, and I'm wearing my Zags shirt. I'm ready to cheer them on. Well, I didn't sit in a section where there were other Zag fans. It was me and all the Kentucky fans in the section we sit in because they're my parents' tickets to the games. And they're the season ticket holders. So I'm trying to be subdued. My wife is obviously a diehard UK fan. I don't need to get in a fight with her. But more importantly, my mother-in-law loves UK, and I don't need to, one, get into an argument with her, and two, I don't want to be the embarrassing family member. So I'm trying to stay subdued. Now, there's some moments in the game where someone would hit a big shot or a big block or a dunk for the Zags, and I would just instinctually, without even thinking about it, like throw the fist pump up. And one of the times in the first half, Gonzaga had got out to a big lead, and Kentucky fans were feeling it. In fact, there was fighting between Kentucky fans next to us. Like, it was just the moods were off. The vibes were off for Kentucky fans. They were not happy. And instinctually on one play, I think it was a Ben Gregg bucket. I stood up and fist pumped, and I just did it out of, again, instincts. And a guy 3 rows back under his breath, but so I could hear it, dropped a sit the bleep down. Thank goodness my mother-in-law was there, because that was the moment in the game where I thought I've either got to put on my big boy pants and be like, look, we're in these seats. We're in your area. I want to respect it. I don't hate the Kentucky Wildcats by any stretch of the imagination. I'm hoping to be able to cheer for them when they're not playing Gonzaga and go to games and get involved. I'm sure my kids are going to like UK hoops, so I don't want to burn bridges with UK fans. But the sit the bleep down got right under my skin, and I thought, my guy, this is what I love the most about cheering on sports is trash talk. And my brain starts whirling like, okay, well, let's go. Sir, if you want to do it, I'm here. I can dance. But my mother-in-law was there, which was great for me in the end of the game. I didn't make a fool of myself. I didn't get into a fight with the guy. But it did give me a little extra motivation to celebrate just a little bit more on plays, a couple more standing ups, a couple more emphatic fist pumps. The game started to get, it started to lose a little bit. I started to lose a little momentum in the second half. When UK came back, got the lead, it looked like it was going to be over. The place started getting 20,000 people loud. They took 57, let me make sure I got it right, 57-51. 12 minutes, 30 seconds left. UK has come back from down by a bunch, down by 10, and now they've got a 6-point lead. The entire building is going crazy. Gonzaga is in hold on for dear life mode. And credit the Zags, they did. They weathered a little bit of a storm. They weathered a nice offensive run by the Cats, and they chipped away. They had I'm trying to remember how that worked out. Graham Ike got fouled when they needed it, excuse me, and hit 2 huge free throws. Then they just kept this game within 2 or 4 until I'm trying to remember when they finally got the lead back. Let me make sure I got it right. The Anton Watson 3. That's what it was. The huge one. They just kept Zags stay in it. And 8 minutes left. Anton hit a 3, and it felt like the game had evened back out, and Gonzaga weathered the storm on the road. Very impressive game for the Zags, and I really loved what I saw from them in person on that game. I guess I credit to Mark Few, credit to the coaches. They saw the weakness that Kentucky had, and they just exploited it, which was something I didn't think was going to be happening. Kentucky's got a lot of big dudes, 7-foot dudes. I guess a lot of tall dudes, not big dudes. A lot of tall dudes. And I would have assumed they were going to try to stay away from them, that Gonzaga would stay away from them. They've got a couple guys who are very athletic, can get up and challenge shots at the rim. But Gonzaga saw that their big guys, Anton and Graham Ike, were going to, and even Braden Huff, were going to be better in the block than Kentucky would be defensively. And right from the jump, Fewy and the guys had the guards getting the ball into the block, isolating, and going one-on-one with big guys and getting buckets. Anton had 17 points. Graham Ike had 23 points. He made 10 field goals. They were just feasting in the paint. Braden Huff was 5 of 8 from the field. They were all inside. They were all at the basket. So obviously Fewy saw something there. They exploited it well. That was a great coaching job by the Gonzaga coaches. And I owe a little bit of an apology to Ben Gregg. I have been up and down on Ben Gregg. I've never been all the way in on Ben Gregg. I've been more down on him than up on him. I think even on this podcast, I've been a little bit down on Ben Gregg. I owe him an apology, tip of the hat to him. He was awesome. He was awesome. And I looked at his stat line, and I expected it to be very different. because I assumed he had 4,000 rebounds in that game. I really assumed he had 10 to 15 rebounds. He had 5. And so I thought, well, they're all 5 going to be offensive rebounds. He only had 2 offensive rebounds, but it felt like he had a million. He was in on every single missed Gonzaga shot. And obviously he didn't grab every board, but him hustling to the basket and causing a bit of chaos for Kentucky boxing out and knowing who to check was huge, because it did lead to 12 offensive boards for the Zags. Anton had 3, Braden had 2, and then a bunch of guys had 1. And I do give a lot of credit to Ben Gregg for this. Just his constant slashing to the basket on offense after a shot went up was causing chaos, and I loved it. It felt very Mike Hart-y for you older Zag fans. It felt very Mike Harty. And so watching that Ben Gregg game, I'm in. I'm all in. He had a couple nice threes, made his free throws for the most part. He was solid. So Ben Gregg, I'm in. I'm a believer. I won't be down on him at all the rest of his Gonzaga career. He can have a really crappy game, and it's not going to bother me anymore. Watching him work on the floor was all I needed to see. Okay, that's enough Gonzaga talk. Can we talk a quick bit of Super Bowl? I had the privilege to go over to a fun Super Bowl party last night. That was a great Super Bowl. That was a fun Super Bowl. And we had a good group together. We had a good spread. We had chicken. We had just some chicken breasts. We some fried chicken breasts, some fried chicken thighs, a bunch of chicken wings. We had a queso dip. We had meatballs in the crock pot. I made some sliders. Ann and I made some sliders that were great. We had some shrimp there, some beverages, some candy. It was a great spread at Rob's house, Sir Rob's house. So that was really nice. We had a good group of guys to watch the game with, diehard football fans, so that was very fun. And we got to watch a really good game. We were spoiled to a really good game. I was really excited today to see what the ratings were going to be. I always love this. The Taylor Swift storyline, I understand it drove a ton of people crazy. It was weird to me. It drove a bunch of people crazy who are the diehard football fans, who are always, if you're in a group of people and there's a diehard football fan and someone says they don't watch football, the diehard football fan is like, how do you not watch football? It's the best of all times. It's the best thing in the world. And then as soon as people started watching football, who had never watched football because of Taylor Swift, they were like, why are you watching football? This isn't for you. And they just are the worst. Those fans are the dumbest fans, and they don't make any sense, and they just want to argue, and so they just get out of here. I have no time for them. But the Taylor Swift edition was noticeable. The gals that were at the house last night for the game all had some kind of Taylor Swift Kansas City Chiefs shirt on, but they were in and watching the game, fully invested in the game. It was very fun. To me, it made the game a lot more enjoyable. Having just everyone fully invested, the amount of questions on like, why isn't Travis Kelce getting the ball more often? Kudos to my sister-in-law, Casey. She kept only watching Travis Kelce. So I think a lot of us are kind of watching the ball. Casey was only watching Travis Kelce. So if he was open on a play, she would be like, he was open. And we're thinking, no, he wasn't. But she was only watching him. So she knew every single thing that he was doing. It was awesome. Anyways, I'm excited to see what the ratings are going to be for this one, because I think they're going to be through the roof. Usher was awesome at halftime. That was nostalgia on another level for me. I'm sure the younger generation was kind of like, who? But you know what? Hey, I'm in my 40s. I went to college I went to high school and college when Usher was big. So sorry, young kids. That was maybe a little old for you, but right down the wheelhouse for me. Loved it. But it's going to be a big numbers for the Super Bowl. I was waiting for them to come out today. They're not out today. I think they'll be out later this week. Here's the numbers they've got to beat, because I love the ratings stuff. Love the ratings stuff. The highest rated Super Bowls of all time, Super Bowl 1982, Super Bowl 16. It was the San Francisco 49ers against I think this is the one. Yeah, San Francisco 49ers against the Cincinnati Bengals. And it was the first John Madden broadcasted football game, or Super Bowl. So his got nearly 50. So I don't really know how the Nielsen ratings work. I think it got a 49.1. So what I believe that is 49% of televisions in the United States were watching that Super Bowl. So that's your number one Super Bowl. The number two Super Bowl was the next year with a 48.6 rating, and Washington played Miami in that one. I don't even, I probably should know who won these, but I don't have that in front of me. Why don't I have that? Hang on. Yeah, okay, that's correct. That was the game. Then the third most watched one was also in the 80s. 1986, it was the Chicago Bears beating the New England Patriots. I think that's Super Bowl shuffle year. The fourth most watched one, don't want to talk about. It is the the average viewers. It's the highest rated or highest number of people who watch the game. It got a 47.5 rating. It was the Seahawks Patriots. The brutal game. We took the RV down to Arizona, watched the game right outside the stadium, and had the quietest car ride home of all time. And then the fifth most watched Super Bowl was all the way back in the 70s, Super Bowl 12, and it was the Dallas Cowboys, Denver Broncos Super Bowl. I think Denver won that game. Oh, no. Dallas won that game. So we're looking at probably a Tom Landry year there. And those are your top five. So I'm excited to see when the ratings come out this week where the Taylor Swift game, this Taylor Swift Super Bowl lands. I think the numbers are going to be staggering, but it's going to be tough because it's spread between so many things. The ratings are tough these days because you've got the game on CBS, you had the game on Nickelodeon, and I think Paramount streamed it. So you've got a lot of different ways to watch the game. That's gonna water your numbers down. It's actually fun. I love looking at ratings, TV ratings stuff, because I think people still watch TV, but with the addition of streaming, you just never know what the actual ratings are. For instance, if you go to the highest rated TV broadcasts of all time, the top 5 of them, 2 of them are Super Bowls. One of them is that Super Bowl, the highest rated Super Bowl with the 49.1% or 49.1. That was number 4, the fourth most watched TV show of all time. Super Bowl, the next year's Super Bowl 17, was the 5th most watched TV broadcast of all time. So we already talked about those. So there's 3 shows that were watched more than those, and they're from the 70s and 80s. The third most watched show of all time is Roots, Part 8, with a 51.1. Over half of the TVs in America were watching that. Crazy. Number 2, back in 1980, Dallas, the episode was called Who Done It, 53.3. So 53% of the TVs in America were watching that, but with a staggering 60.2. 60% of the TVs in America watching MASH, Goodbye, Farewell, and Amen. The last episode of MASH still reigns February 28th, 1983. And it will never be touched because if you look at this list, you don't get any TV shows at all from the 2000s. The only things from the 2000s of the top 30 most broadcast shows of all time are Super Bowls. That's it. No other sporting events. No American Idol. No, American Idol would have been the other one because American Idol actually had really good ratings for TV in the 2000s. It was just in the 20s and 30s. Low 30s. Really low 30s. So you just don't get that anymore because of streaming getting added in. I was trying to find like the top streaming things, and I wish the streaming services had to release their numbers, but they don't. And so I found one Netflix one, the top 15 most streamed Netflix shows ever by hour. And this was released towards the end of last year. And see, so you can't monitor them the same because it used to be percentages of houses that had it on their screen. This is done by the hours watched. Bridgerton Season 1, 5th most watched Netflix show, 929 million hours. Dahmer, the Jeffrey Dahmer story, 1.03 billion hours watched. Wednesday, that show, 1.71 billion hours watched. Stranger Things, 1.83 billion hours watched. The most watched Netflix show of all time is Squid Game, Season 1, 2.2 billion hours watched. And so I'd love to know like how those would land in that ratings thing. Okay, have I bored you enough with ratings talk? That's something that I personally get super into. I love those kind of things. I love the stats on that. But I'm excited to see where this Super Bowl yesterday, which was not only the pop culture sensation with the Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift stuff, because that's a big story. It's the biggest star in the world dating one of the best players in football. It's huge. And so there was a lot there, and the Usher stuff was great, but the game was awesome. The game was awesome. And I mean, I feel for 49ers fans today because what a way to lose a game. The amount I would talk all day about the strategy with the postseason rules and overtime to receive or not receive the kick off the coin toss. I thought that was a big blunder by Kyle Shanahan, who I do not like Kyle Shanahan. But I'm a Seahawks fan, so I just dislike the Niners in general. But I don't know how you win the toss with the new overtime rules, knowing that both teams get a possession no matter what. I don't know how you receive the ball, knowing that even if you score a touchdown, all you've done is you've given Patrick Mahomes, one of the best who's ever done it, a chance to drive down the field in a situation where if he knows he needs to get 7 points, let's say he knows he needs to get 7, he can go on it on every fourth down. So every single series on that drive, they don't have to plan for, we've got 3 plays and then maybe a punt. They get to plan on 4 plays on every single set of downs, which I think is a terrible place to put yourself in against the greatest quarterback, who's the greatest football player who's playing right now and one of the best ever. So I thought that was very poorly mismanaged by the 49ers to win that toss and then take the ball and give Patrick Mahomes a chance to drive for the win with him knowing exactly what he needed to do. Anyways, I digress. I'm ready for the ratings to come out this week. Can I talk quick parenting? Can I get any kind of help from a parent? How do you go around cleaning out toys? How do you go around going through your kids' toys and just throwing them away? Because we've got, as much as we've got cardboard growing in our garage, we have got kids' toys multiplying by the minute in our upstairs toy room. It just is wild. And so I go up there and I think, you know what? I'm going to clean a bunch of toys out. I'm just going to throw them away. Kids don't need them. And kids are smarter than that, because every time I'm going to do this, I will have seen in the last 2 days my son or my daughter just holding the toy that I'm now going to throw away. Did they play with it? I have no idea. They might have just been moving it, but I've seen them with it. And so nostalgia kicks in. I'm like, oh, man. This Ryan's World squishy toy that has no more paint on it, that's just a discolored ball at this point. It used to look like a monster. Now it's just a discolored ball. Olivia loved this so much. How could I ever throw this away? And Huck was holding it yesterday. So you leave it. You go to the next one. It's a car that's missing a wheel. It's a Hot Wheels car missing a wheel. Oh, man. This was the first Hot Wheels car Olivia fell in love with at the old house. I'll throw some cars away. Not this one, though. Not this one. This one is still really important. Can it go down a Hot Wheels track still? Absolutely not. But we have to keep it for the sanctity of keeping this nostalgia alive in this house. I can't get rid of toys. It's terrible. I need to hire someone to come in and just go through the toy room and throw everything away. Maybe someone who used to work for Antiques Roadshow and can see value in things like that. And they can just go through and look like, okay, look, this is on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of toy value. Everything that's under a 4, toss it. So if there's anyone out there who has a job of cleaning out toys, my wife and I can go out to lunch, and you can come through and just scoop them up and dump them out. Let's do it.
Kelly's, what are you into?
I've got to give a shout out to my guy, Josh, who was in town this weekend. Man, it was great to see Josh this weekend. It was great to see Barrett this weekend. Oh, I got to see B, got to see Josh, got to see Gray. That's Josh, one of my great friends, and then 2 guys who I met through Peaceful Valley Hoops. So it was very cool for me to get to see all these people. I went to lunch with Barrett one of the days, and we went to Local Taco, a taco place here in town. It was really good. But I've got to give the shout out in the Kelly's What Are You Into to where Josh took me on Thursday night. This is Thursday night. Thursday night, he goes, look, there's a place here in town. It's only in the South. I used to love it when he lived in Carolina. He would go there. Cookout. Now, I've been there before with my wife, and I know my wife likes it, but it had been a while since I had been there. And here's why it gets my shout out, and here is why I am a Cookout guy moving forward. Excuse me. We got a burger, a great cheeseburger. It was a really delicious cheeseburger. I want to make that clear so it's not like, oh, we just got a random little cheeseburger and it's a tiny thing. A good fast food cheeseburger, a big thing of fries, a side. You get a side. Our side was a quesadilla, a full quesadilla as a side at a fast food restaurant. a large soda, and a milkshake for $13. It's the one place in America that hasn't gone with inflation. They just have decided that inflation doesn't matter to them. Again, a burger, fries, a quesadilla, a large soda, and a milkshake. Now, normally you go and just get a milkshake at a fast food place, and you're already going to be over $10. And that's without any other food. So we had 4 or 5 other items in our setup with the milkshake, and it was $13. Crazy. So big time shout out to Cookout on hooking it up with an amazing spread of food, delicious food, at a price that just absolutely rules for me. All right, let's get into the comments today. If you want to comment on the podcast, you can do it one of 3 ways, I guess. You can comment on YouTube. So if you're watching the YouTube video, like, subscribe, tell a friend about it, comment in it. You can get your comments in there. If you listen on Spotify, they have a question and answer section on today's podcast, and you can comment there. Or you can just go to seanslife.com, SEAN, seanslife.com, and leave your comment there like Ian did. And Ian said, "Hi, Sean. So for the mall, as we were talking about malls, there was a mall I loved to go to back when we lived in California, Westminster Mall and South Coast Plaza. Westminster, the whole top floor was the food court. They had a McDonald's, Burger King, a Top and Grill like Benihana's, Flame Broiler, and more brand name restaurants. That's a lot. That's a big food court. South Coast Plaza, this place had the high-end restaurants in it, and in its food courts, to give you an idea, they had have a Saks Fifth Avenue official Coach store. They have valet parking, and you would routinely see $200,000 cars there like Lambos, Ferraris. That's insane. That food court isn't going to work for me, Ian. That food court's not. I'm a Cookout food court guy. I want to cook out in every food court now. Ian went on to say, for the Super Bowl, I got a 10-pound pork belly that I smoked for 10 hours, going to make homemade cheddar nacho fries, fried cheese, and homemade boneless wings. Pics will be sent. All right, prove it. Send them, baby. And then he said, hopefully this is easier to read. Oh, yeah, he formatted his post better. It was. That actually was great, Ian. Okay, so that's a really ridiculous Super Bowl spread. 10-pound pork belly, smoked for 10 hours. Homemade cheddar nacho fries. Sounds amazing. And homemade boneless wings. That's an insane spread, Ian. Well done. Also, that I'm going to look up that South Coast Plaza and check out that food court. I love a food court, man. I love a food court. On Spotify, let's go to the Spotify comments. Thank you, Ian, for the comment there. We had one from, I think we got one from Yvonne. Yvonne said, enjoy the Zags game. I was the tomboy for my dad. Fishing, sports, etc. Cars, another story, but would love to hang out with Jay. Yeah, Jay would love it. Jay needs, none of his son-in-laws are tomboys. His girls aren't tomboys. His son-in-laws aren't tomboys. He could use a tomboy. We had a fun time. 60th birthday party was on Friday night. We had a great time there. We went to a restaurant here in town, and Lisa had rented out a big space in the restaurant, and they did a cool slideshow. They did a little open mic that was fun. They had a great spread of food, some drinks. It was a really fun time. It was great to see my father-in-law's friends all come together and celebrate him because he deserves it. So we had a really fun time at his birthday. But again, did I talk cars or hunting or anything cool with him? No. He had to talk about Gonzaga basketball. So sorry about that, Jay. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Again, if you want to help out the podcast, go to YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like it, subscribe to it. And tell a friend about the podcast if you dig it. Thanks so much.